Focus is nothing but a state of being productive. Just like a person needs to do certain things that make them happy or satisfied, they can do certain things that can make them focused.
Well, before getting to that, I think we should talk about metacognition. To know that you are not focused is easy, to know how and where you are unfocused is difficult. This is where metacognition comes in. It basically involves active attempts to become aware of one's own learning processes and to adjust them accordingly. When one's approach fails to yield the anticipated results, a metacognitive person will quickly realize his or her mistake and try another approach. Ultimately, metacognitive people term themselves as learners, yet they realize that each learning task may require a slightly different tactic. Metacognition is important for fresh graduates as they are now in a new environment, where the old way of learning and working may not work, and may lead to problems in efficiency. To know why one is not able to focus, one must be meticulously aware of what they are thinking when they are not focusing. So teaching metacognition helps students discover their own individual learning preferences and abilities, which will change depending on the task at hand. When students understand the principles of metacognition, they are able to plan, monitor, and evaluate their own learning. For example, it may be that some students are able to focus more after eating, whereas others feel sleepy and wish to rest.
And this is different from overthinking, right, Professor?
Oh, yes it is. It is important to differentiate metacognition from overthinking. Overthinking involves making conclusions from inadequate events, or data from the environment, whereas metacognition is being aware of what one is thinking, and consciously noting down one's own thought without judgment.
So, we try to understand how we learn, and why we get distracted ultimately with the aim of being able to remove those distractions.
Of course. Discipline, more particularly self-discipline, is one of the driving forces of focus. To get to the state of focus, one has to actively make an environment that is not distracting, and get to a mental state that is ready to focus. This requires diligence. It is not easy to get to a state of focus because of the ample opportunities to distract oneself with everything that goes on in a workplace and everything that goes inside a person's mind. However, it is easy to know when one is distracted and then consciously bring one's attention back to the task at hand. This might seem easy, but it is not. Our brains require constant stimulation, and the moment we get a slight feeling of fatigue or boredom, it will look at something else to entertain itself. To overcome this, one can use the thought interruption method. It is a simple exercise to think, stop, when one finds themselves thinking something they do not want to. Once you do this for at least 5 to 7 days, it will be easy to bring oneself back to the present. For fatigue, it is better to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. It is the easiest and simplest exercise to de-stress and reorient oneself. It is a scientifically proven exercise to lower blood pressure, lower stress level, increase attention and awareness, and is even beneficial for anger management.
These measures are aimed at maintaining short-term focus. How do you stay focused for longer periods?
Lifestyle changes are never easy. Initially, in this discussion, we mentioned the decrease in attention spans. The cynic in me says, this is not by chance, it is by design. The revenues of billion-dollar conglomerates depend on humans' lack of attention and fickle-mindedness. I have no intention of vilifying any particular person or activity, but I think you would agree that advertising is more nuanced and attractive now, and apps are designed in a way that you get addicted with infinite social media feeds. The devices at your home demand your attention, and the increased pressure at work makes you want to multitask. Therefore, to focus every day, one should keep away anything that can distract them. This can be something as simple as turning off notifications on your phone. However, this does not mean that your phone is the only thing that can distract you. A messy workplace or a noisy place to work can also be distracting.
So, messy workstations are something we should avoid then?
Not if you revel in organized chaos, but I think very few people like to work like that. Another thing is planning. Planning can help you focus on what is important, versus what is urgent. It helps you make sure that what you do each day aligns with your goals, priorities, and key tasks at work. At a bare minimum, you should plan for the next day ahead of time, but planning for the week helps you better align your tasks with your priority. Planning for the month can also be helpful in focusing on your priorities. This does not mean that you have to micromanage everything or leave no room for creativity and inspiration. It just means that one should have specific deadlines set for tasks, even if there are not any. It is especially important to make mini deadlines for subtasks here. For example, a project that will take you 5 days to complete and has a deadline for 30th of the month might be forgotten until 28th and then lead you to work overtime or produce low-quality work. So, it is important to make deadlines for subtasks too. Another aspect that management and planning helps improve are decision-making skills. Whether individually or in an organization, having good decision-making skills can help you make better decisions faster, and help in reducing decision paralysis. To plan and make decisions early means to help your future self from being overwhelmed.
It's as John Carmack famously said, focus is a matter of deciding what things you're not going to do. Prioritize your tasks so that you can actually work, instead of constantly deciding what to work on next.
Absolutely. One concept that is now gaining more recognition is emotional management. It is the ability to realize, readily accept, as well as successfully control feelings in oneself and sometimes others. Very simply, emotion management skills refer to the ability to master your own emotions. For developing emotion management skills, being open to one's thoughts and feelings is not enough. You must have complete authority over changing your thoughts and feelings that are generated whenever your values are touched upon by the actions of a person or an event. This is important because the change in your thoughts and feelings is what helps change your emotions, preventing reactive outbursts. For example, it is important to manage your own jealousy or relationships with coworkers to remain focused. Not having control over your own emotions can lead to instability in emotions, which can lead to a loss of focus due to rumination. It is also important to learn which problems one should bring to the workplace and which problems one should leave outside. If there is a problem or a stressor that is so big that you will not be able to focus, it is better to not come to office at all and use the day or half a day to manage your own emotions. Taking time off can assure that you will come back to work with the maximum productivity you can offer.
I think I can probably relate emotional intelligence to what you said earlier about metacognition.
Of course, emotional intelligence is the key to self-awareness, which is in many ways related to metacognition. Self-awareness can help you know your own work habits better and prepare you for challenges in advance. For example, if you know that you are someone who cannot manage time effectively, it is important to keep buffer times between tasks. If you finish the task early, you give yourself a break. If you do not, you have time to complete the task. I am reminded of a line that is commonly attributed to Warren Buffett, that you only have to do a very few things right in your life as long as you do not do too many things wrong. Focus is not as much about time management as it is about energy management. Examining can also help you realize what will work for you. Some people work better in the morning whereas others work better after lunch. Knowing how you work can help you plan what time of the day you want to schedule your most important tasks to. For example, I have noticed that my creative energy is highest in the morning. That is when I am fresh. That is when I do my best writing. That is when I make the best strategic decisions about my business. So, what do? I schedule creative tasks for the morning. All other business tasks are taken care of in the afternoon. This includes doing interviews, responding to emails, phone calls, Skype chats, data analysis and number crunching. Nearly every productivity strategy obsesses over managing your time better, but time is useless if you do not have the energy to complete the task you are working on. Strategy is also important for problem solving. Knowing methods that help you solve problems effectively can help you overcome and resolve the issues that come up. Sometimes, when problems hit us, we can freeze. We may not know what to do. Other times we may spend hours figuring out what to do. If you have set strategies that you follow to solve whatever problems come your way, then you will have less stress, save time, and resolve issues more effectively and efficiently.
Professor, strategizing is useful only as long as it streamlines your work, but I think there is probably no one in the world who doesn't procrastinate.
Well, you might be right about that, but too much procrastination can have sobering effects on the life of a person. It is also very easy to make procrastination a lifestyle and always be behind schedules and deadlines, which can severely affect the quality of life of a person. Procrastination is the avoidance of doing a task that needs to be accomplished by a certain deadline. It could be habitual or intentional, and usually the person knows that it might have negative consequences. Procrastination can be overcome by cognitive reframing and making active strategies, just like any other conscious behavior. One of the biggest reasons people procrastinate is because they catastrophize, or make a huge deal out of something. It may be related to how tough, boring, or how painful it will be to complete the task. Whatever the case, the underlying theme is that doing the task will be unbearable. In reality, challenges, boredom, and hard work will not kill you, or even make you sick. You know, there is a phenomena we call the Zeigarnik effect. It hypothesizes that people tend to remember unfinished or incomplete tasks better than completed tasks. It has a lot of scientific support, and most people notice that they think about things that are not completely resolved more, since it is human nature to speculate. This implies that it is better to finish tasks so as to not ruminate over them later. The effect is best suited to overcome procrastination. We often put off big tasks that seem overwhelming. However, the Zeigarnik effect suggests that the key to overcoming procrastination is to just get started. The first step could be something small and seemingly insubstantial. In fact, it is probably best if it is something fairly easy. The key, though, is that the task has been started, but not completed. This will take up psychological energy that will lead the task to intrude on your thoughts. It is an uncomfortable feeling that will drive us to complete the task, and at that point we can let go and no longer keep the task at the forefront of our minds. As you establish your schedule, set yourself up for success. Projects often take much longer than expected, so bake in some extra time. And look for ways to make it easier, like treating yourself after completing a difficult task.
So folks, you know what to do. Listen to Nike, and just do it. Pardon the bad joke, Professor. The Zeigarnik effect is going to be very useful for our audience in staying on top of their to-do lists. Now, we have discussed multitasking before, in terms of its desirability productivity, but why is it not desirable? What is the science behind it? I feel it is fitting to ask this question, because procrastination and multitasking are two most talked about problems when it comes to getting work done.
The thing is, humans cannot physically multitask. Instead, our brains juggle attention from one task to another so quick, we get the illusion that we are multitasking. Think about writing an email and talking on the phone at the same time. These things are nearly impossible to do at the same time. You cannot focus on one while doing the other. That is because of what is called interference between the two tasks. They both involve communicating via speech or the written word, and similar tasks compete to use the same part of the brain. Another explanation is mental residue. If you try to do too many things at once, you probably would not finish those tasks to a high standard. Why? Because of something called attention residue. The term was first used by Sophie Leroy. She described it as the thoughts that get carried over from one unfinished task into the next task. It is also called mental residue. This means that it takes you more time to wrap up a task than if you simply focused on one task at a time, because now you add in the time that it takes for your mind to stop thinking about the previous task. Not only does this deteriorate the quality, but also increases the time you would have taken to finish both tasks individually. You only hinder your productivity by multitasking.
The Zeigarnik effect and mental residue. This section has certainly turned out very informative for me. The key takeaways from this section include the role of self-awareness, metacognition and self-discipline in improving focus, and how planning and strategizing can go a long way in making your busy life much simpler and more efficient. Then we talked about how procrastinating and multitasking might not set you up for success. We have now come to the end of this section, and the invigilator is here with a little quiz. Have fun.
This was quite an informative section. The questions for this particular section are as follows.